Now that I've seen like the windows go in and things like that, it's actually even better than I thought it was going to be. We chose the property based on where it was situated and some of the views that we wanted. And my husband and I could live on the first floor with like kitchen, living, dining room. And then the downstairs was really going to be like for all of our guests. And so we wanted it to be a place that like everybody would come home for the holidays and could all be together as a family and invite friends.
Welcome to The Art of Custom from Hibbs Homes. In this episode, we are talking about long-distance relationships with your builder. Our client Kelly Day joins us to discuss the process of building her vacation dream home remotely, along with the help of designer Lydia Huffman with LH Design. Enjoy.
How do you know when you've met, the right one, the right builder, designer, and architect team, that is? If you're a longtime listener of the show, you know that we often compare the builder-client relationship to a marriage. We've done it many times. But one of the things we haven't had a chance to dive into is, what is it like when that relationship is a long-distance one? Melody, I got to tell you, I feel like this is some sort of a dating game we're getting ready to talk about.
I mean, it kind of is, isn't it?
Well, especially when our client, who we'll hear from soon, kind of said that.
Yeah, she did. And interestingly enough, she's not a podcast listener. So,
No,
and she still brought it up. So,
but she is in the entertainment industry.
She is. She's a fantastic interview, too. She had a lot of really great information to share.
We've had clients on a few different times over our 6 seasons, and I have to say that Kelly was absolutely the best client interview we've ever had.
And, what's really interesting is she's building from across the country, too.
And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode.
Exactly. And we have a lot of people who are hesitant to build from afar if they're, relocating to a new area. And a lot of people will call in with a lot of questions. And so I thought maybe this is a good time to dive into that because people are making some of those big cross-country moves, and she's doing it with such finesse.
Since the pandemic, we've talked about how kind of the demographics are shifting as far as where people are living in relation to where they're working. Many more people are working remotely. And I think that's kind of what started us talking about this a little bit over the past few years, because we have several projects going in the Park City area. And aside from a small handful, every one of those clients is somehow out of state and managing their build remotely. And so when you came to me and said, what do you think about a podcast on building from afar, long distance relationships in your dream home? You notice how I worked the title in there?
Like that.
Yeah, I like the title too. Anyway, when you came to me and said, what do you think about that? I was like, perfect topic, because so many people are going through it right now. And whether you're building in Florida, whether you're building in California, it makes no difference. If you have a long distance relationship with your builder and with your designer, we hope this episode is going to be helpful.
I think it definitely will be. And we actually get to hear from the designer who's on the project as well. So,
she's one of our favorites.
Yes, she is. She's a longtime friend of the show, as we like to
Lydia
say.
Huffman with LH Design.
Yeah.
And then our client is from the East Coast. Her name is Kelly Day. Kelly and Matt are building their vacation home right now in Park City. But you'll hear during the interview that their long-term goal is to make that their permanent residence.
Take it away.
Kelly and Lydia, thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Kelly, tell me a little bit about why you decided to build in Park City and kind of what prompted the whole thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had been vacationing as a family, my husband and I and our kids, really since before we were even married. So we've been going to Park City as a family for about 20 years. We just, love the environment there. We love to ski. We loved spending time there in the summer. And, over the years, as, once we got married and had kids and the kids grew up, our ideas about what we would do in terms of real estate in Park City kind of changed over the years. And I think what really prompted us to move forward with building our house was we finally decided that this was the place that we were going to retire. Obviously we weren't in that mindset 20 years ago when we started the journey, but, after spending all these years there, we just decided that, when we thought about where we wanted to spend the back half of our lives, that was the place for us because, great outdoor environment and just really active culture of the community. And really, sentimental and kind of special place for us. And so, yeah, once we decided that that's what we wanted to do, then it was like, okay, well, I'm going to build the house that I want to live in for the rest of my life. And so then it became obviously much more personal and more special.
Have you built before?
Not a custom home. No. We've had 2 other experiences working with builders, both of which we went in and bought spec homes, but not at the phase where we were buying the land and hiring the architect and things like that. So this was a new experience for us.
So let's bring Lydia into the conversation here. And I'll ask you first, Kelly, why did you feel like a designer was important to this particular project?
Well, I think a designer is critically important. There's a lot of things that I definitely don't know about designing and building a house. Although Lydia would probably attest that I certainly have a lot of opinions about it, even if I don't always know what the heck I'm doing. Yeah, like we had, obviously I had a lot of ideas. I had Pinterest boards and house boards and ideas that I had for the house. But I needed a partner who actually knew how to bring those things to life, right? Like I needed someone who had the experience to be able to take what was my picture on a Pinterest board and actually turn it into reality and kind of guide us through making the choices. So it was great that we got connected actually through Kim, to Lydia. And we've now been working together on this for over a year. And it's been a really great, rewarding experience.
So Lydia, not only is Kelly building from long distance, but in a way you are too, because you're based in Seattle. Talk a little bit about the importance of a designer from your perspective when working with custom clients.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. I loved Kelly's words where she said it's a critical element. And so that validates that we're really important. I think where our value is for a builder and a client is truly the systems. And if we don't have systems in place, then it won't be beneficial to anybody else involved. So I love the fact that Hibbs introduced us to the Day family, and then right off the bat, it was builder, client, and design team all moving forward with the Day's vision together at the same time in an organized format. So for us, and we love our work outside of the greater Seattle area, it's all about the process, the systems, and probably the fundamental is communication and how that communication takes place and transfers back to the builders and your vendors and your trades to make sure their vision happens the way they wish for it to.
And it's interesting you bring up communication because that's one of our core values. That's one of the things that we really strive to provide to our clients. And to take this a little bit more full circle, one of the things that we as builders enjoy about the relationship is when we're putting together a budget, we want to make sure that our budgets are accurate. And if we have the designer working with the client up front, it helps make sure that when we're populating our budget with the selections, whether it's cabinetry, flooring, whatever, that we are putting in the appropriate numbers. So Lydia, how do most clients find you when it comes to design? Is it the builder who introduces you, or do you have people that find you through your website?
I think it's probably a 50-50 thing. Our referrals from our builders is greatly appreciated and is probably the most efficient because you as a builder already validate to the clients that we are the design team, that we're the best fit for them because you sense that up front. So we really appreciate that. If and when a client is finding or sourcing us through our website or other social media avenues, it's still positive, but it just ends up being more of a extensive process as a whole to help make sure that they believe, the client, we're a good fit along with then we either help them find a builder or they already kind of have one off in the wings ready to go.
Kelly, I'll ask you the same question. As someone who lives on the East Coast, you're building on the West Coast. How did you start your search for a builder? And then what would you say to people who are looking to find a builder? What are the best ways to get connected?
We started our search mostly through our real estate agent. So we had actually acquired the piece of land. Like we knew the community that we wanted to build in, which was Sky Ridge at Park City. And we had a real estate agent that we had been working with. She was great at like introducing us to different people in Park City. And then, we kind of complemented that with doing honestly like a lot of online research. Like I tend to follow on Instagram a lot of builders and designers and things like that from around Park City. So I had some sense of like different players in the market and who was doing what. And, I would go to my real estate agent and say, oh, have you heard of this person? What do you think of their work, their reputation, things like that. And then finally, when we were really ready to pull the trigger, we just went out to Park City and like spent a few days meeting people, interviewing people, because, one of the things that I really thought about when we were beginning this process is that I knew that it was going to be like 2+ years. Like I just sort of set my expectation up front. Like this is going to take a couple of years. And so this is someone that you're going to have a relationship with for years. Like it's not a transaction. Like, it's a partnership. Like you're going to be in this together for a while. And so it was really important to build a personal connection. Like you have to get along and like build trust and feel like, you have that natural communication, because there are bumps along the way. Like, there are things along the way that I think to be expected. It doesn't always go perfectly smoothly and stuff. And so I think, you really just want to pick partners, builder, designer, that you feel like, we can be friends. Like,
Yes,
we
exactly.
can, because that's what you're signing up for.
And I think trust is another key word. You have to pick somebody not only that you can develop a friendship with, but you also have to trust them, because it is such a long process. There's so many important decisions and there's a lot of money at stake. So you have to be able to trust the partnership that you're getting involved with. And we tell our clients the same thing. I know Lydia does as well. So this relationship that we've all developed has been really special. I think we all work together exceptionally well. Lydia has an awesome team. We have an awesome team. And I hope that you would agree that it's all going very well. So I want to talk specifically about your home, your original vision. And then as we find ourselves today, we're just about to go to insulation and drywall. Mm-hmm. Is that vision coming true? Has it changed at all?
It's actually almost even better than I originally envisioned. Now that I've seen like the windows go in and things like that, it's like, it's actually even better than I thought it was going to be. So we chose the property based on sort of where it was situated and some of the views that we wanted and things like that. And so I had this idea in my head based on the property that my husband and I could kind of live on the first floor, and that would sort of be our floor, if you will, with like kitchen, living, dining room. And then the downstairs was really going to be like for all of our guests, and our kids are at the point where they're going off to college now and stuff. And so we wanted it to be a place that like everybody would come home for the holidays, and we could all be together as a family and invite friends and stuff. And so I had an idea in my head of like how the house was going to be laid out, and sort of imagining like everyone coming and how we would spend time together, like around the table and stuff. And now that we're, it looks like a real house now, and it has windows and stuff like that, and you can stand in it and see the view and see the rooms and everything. It is even better than I actually thought it was going to be. Like now I'm so excited for it to actually be done because it just looks amazing.
Were you concerned about the design process and having to build from afar?
No, honestly,
Good.
It didn't even occur to me to be concerned, to be honest. I think because, we're all kind of digital natives at this point. My job is very online, if you will. And so, I'm used to living my whole life through Zoom and the internet and email and texting and stuff like that. So that kind of communication is extremely natural to me. So it really didn't worry me at all. I think that the main thing that we were looking for, like I said, trust, like you said, but that really solid communication. I am probably a little bit more of like a type A personality. And so like,
no,
I
really?
I like the details. I like fast answers. I like, to like be on top of things. And I always want to know like where everything is and like when's the next thing happening and stuff. I think having that peace of mind and having the visibility into, okay, here's what's going to come next. Here's how long it's going to take. I actually think it manages expectations better. Because when I know, oh, that's not going to actually happen till December, then I'm not even thinking about it. It's not even in my head. I'm like, okay, that's not happening until December. So like, I'm just going to worry about the things that need to happen right now. Like, what are the decisions that we need to make right now? What are the selections that need to happen? Things that are going to happen in December or January or, 3 or 4 months from now. I'll cross that bridge when we get to those. So having that schedule and having that communication, I think, is not only good to just maintain the communication flow, but it actually gives you peace of mind so that you don't have to like worry about the things that aren't relevant right now.
So Lydia, that's going to bring you back into the conversation because first of all, Kelly wasn't concerned at all about making selections, which is terrific. You've used the word process a couple of times. I have to believe that your process and your ability to schedule selections really is something that makes or breaks a project like this.
Absolutely. For us, designing remotely is exactly the same. The steps that we take with our clients and builders is identical state to state. I mean, there is no difference for us. And when we vary from that process or that path or that journey, that's when things don't go as well. So when we were hired by Kelly, because Hibbs introduced us, the first thing we did is know something about Kelly. So we scheduled a vision meeting via that digital native approach. And there have been times throughout this process where we're Zooming in 4 different time zones. But every time I would hang up from those Zooms, I would go, check, check, done. Because Kelly's very clear about her expectations. And we have a process, and hopefully we always meet the expectations of the clients and Hibbs. So for us, there just is no difference. We have a checklist. So once we have that vision meeting with our clients, we then began to schedule appointments in a synchronized format. And for us, it was meeting Kelly in Utah and working with Hibbs Homes vendors and trades and just going through the steps sequence by sequence so that by the time we got to the interiors, Kelly already knew what her plumbing looked like. Kelly already knew what her appliances looked like. I mean, we had things sequentially done, and then we just got to dive into the fun stuff. And she has great taste. None of our clients have bad taste. So we love working with Kelly's creative and enthusiastic personality. And she's very hands-on. If you've watched any of our social media on Instagram, her dining room is now her personal showroom of her new home. And it's so much fun to see. And I got goosebumps when Kelly was talking about her home, their home, and that it's actually better than she expected. I got serious goosebumps.
Yeah, I did too.
I can tell how excited Kelly and her family are about her house just when she did her video of her dining room for us to show us all her parts and pieces.
It's interesting because you mentioned meetings in 4 time zones. We're recording this right now in 3 different time zones. So technology isn't as bad as maybe it's made out to be after the pandemic. But Lydia, talk a little bit about what some of the other technology you use to help your clients.
Well, Kelly's way ahead of me, and
yeah, she is.
I surround myself with really smart people. So it's my team that kind of takes our technology to the next level. It is drawings. Kelly will put together amazing Pinterest boards or, hey team, what do you think of these ideas? And then we gather and think, and then we draw it up for her. Or if she wants to change the hood color or she wants to change her wallpaper, my team, because they're so gosh darn talented, they can immediately put that into a format so Kelly can get a vision. So she can then say, okay, Lydia, done, check. We made that decision. Move on.
And Kelly, do you believe this technology and some of the visions that Lydia and her team are sharing with you, can you get the true look and feel of what it's going to look like ultimately?
I can, yeah. I mean, they put together really nice presentations where essentially they lay out all the selections room by room and it's all itemized. And once I get that document, it does sort of show a nice board room by room of what everything looks like. And then I just kind of complement that with my own research. So like they'll send a list of, what each of the materials are. And so I will go on the manufacturer's website and like look at more detailed pictures. In a lot of cases, Lydia mentioned my dining room is like my design showroom. I've ordered like a zillion samples. So they pick all the hardware selections and the tile and everything. And I basically go and order samples of all of them. And then I have them sent to the house and then I can look at them in real life and say, oh, okay, this is what this handle looks like on this type of wood and with this fabric, on the drapes, things like that. Or in some cases, you can just go to a local showrooms.
Lydia, I know there's a lot of project management software that you guys use and design software you use. We also are using construction software that helps Kelly keep up to date with selections. We have her she can go into our software. Once Lydia has turned in a design that is ready to be selected, we have Kelly sign off on it. So we then can send a purchase order to our vendors. So that's very organized. It's a great communication tool. We can record all the communication back and forth. So if we ever have a question, we can go back and research and look at it. We also shared our construction schedule with Kelly there, so she knows where we are with the project. But project management software and just managing the project is so important, especially at this level, and especially with some of the decisions that have to be made. Lydia, I would have to believe that you and your team also are relying on different software systems that help with all of this.
Absolutely. And because of the number of builders that we work with, everybody uses something different, Buildertrend, Co-Construct, whatever. So we don't overthink that, but it is definitely a tool in our box that helps us better manage our time with the clients and for the builders. My favorite thing in the whole wide world is on-site walks. So yes, we traveled to Utah. We had a very productive day last time we were with Kelly on the job site, and that involved Hibbs, it involved their subs, and just kind of this 7-hour day on the job sites with all the amazing people. And that is how you get the feel of the home and you get to where Kelly and Hibbs is today on that project. So if at all possible, I prefer to be on the job site versus like digital. But at the same time, each builder uses it different. And I know Co-Construct is accessible to us. I just try to give it to Hibbs and let Hibbs put it in the right places for our clients.
Kelly, what do you remember about that very busy time when you visited Park City recently and we had all of our trades there and you spent a couple of days on site with the trades? And how do you think that relates to the success of a project like this?
Well, first, I would agree that, software like Co-Construct is super helpful. I mean, it's just really easy. You guys put things in, I pull it up super fast, look at it, approve it. So that's been an awesome communication tool. But I do think that when you're building a home from afar, you really have to bake into the schedule certain times when you can go and spend time at the house, because it is pretty hard unless you're standing there in the room, looking at things and really get a sense of like proportions and how you think it's going to look. So, we try to carve out certain trips like every so often so that we make sure during key milestones that we're able to get there. And I think that's really, really important. The last time that we were there was, right after the house was framed. And so it was really the first time that we could see the proportions of the room and stuff. Like you could really stand in it and get a feel for, oh, this is about how big it's really going to be. Like you can look at it on the plans, but it's kind of hard to visualize until you stand in it for the first time. It was great. I mean, like as soon as we walked in the door, we just kind of went to, okay, first let's walk through and do this. So we got like a bunch of plumbing decisions made. We got electrical decisions made. We looked at HVAC. And in some cases we found places where, we had to change some things. things. We had to change some of the measurements on a few of the cabinets, and, our cabinet partner was there right on site and was like measuring and saying, okay, here's what we can do. And we made just some really quick on the fly decisions about that I think definitely saved us some headaches later. There were a couple places where we had thought we were going to make certain choices, and then we looked at it and said, I don't think that's going to look exactly the way we thought. So let's not do that. I thought it was really efficient. A lot of things happen in a very short period of time. And, we walked away with some really tangible action items. So it was good.
Yeah, I think it's key for those building a FAR to, like you say, bake into your schedule, making sure you're planning 3, maybe even 4, maybe even more if you need it, trips to the job site to meet with the team and with your designer and with the subcontractors, because it's critical that you're there to put your eyes on it. But we talked about technology. If you can't be there, I know, for example, our superintendents try to take photos and videos occasionally and post them so Kelly can see what's going on. But also, I know with some clients as needed, we've also done FaceTime, so you can get real time information on what's going on to make decisions. So just from a technology standpoint, that's something to think about as well. We've talked for a while. Greatly appreciate it, ladies. Maybe a final piece of advice if you're building from afar.
I think it's being really honest. You have to be not afraid to say I don't really like that, and sort of have that open, honest communication, because I think at least, from my perspective, it's my home and it's the place that, Matt and I are going to live in, and it has to be super comfortable for us. We have to feel like it is a big investment, as you say, and it's one that, hopefully we're going to live in for a long, long, long time. And so every decision that we make feels kind of personal to us. And so I think creating a really open and honest environment, I think, is really, really important. And you guys have enabled that, and you guys have created that feedback mechanism. And I know when I say things that you listen and you understand and never try to push us into, making decisions that we're not comfortable with. When you're building a custom home, it is your home.
Lydia, final word.
Well, I have more than one word, but I think that I appreciated, again, Kelly saying that having a designer is critical. I think it's absolutely a must for any custom home. And that is not about driving my business. That is in support and respect of, first, the homeowner, and second, the builder. And so many of us are good at, I love the look of this. But what is the critical path is, how does the builder know how to implement that? What is the specific specification on that piece of tile? And so that's why I believe that designers are incredibly important, especially the process that LH Design has in place, because I know it's going to get implemented correctly because I'm working with Kelly and I'm working with Hibbs Home. I know Kelly is going to get the house that she and her family wish for.
That's the ultimate goal by everybody that's involved. Put that team together and build that dream home and make everybody happy. Kelly and Lydia, cannot thank you enough for sharing your experience and sharing your time, because I know you're both extremely busy. Thank you so much to both of you for spending a few minutes with us today. We appreciate it. Kelly's awesome. We've been together many times out in Park City, obviously, during the project. Had a chance to go to have a real nice sit-down dinner with Matt and Kelly and Amy, who's our general manager. And they're just such wonderful, warm, friendly people. We're just thrilled to be working with them. And I hope this has given our listeners a chance to understand a little bit better about how the process can be a successful process if you have that right team together.
What was really interesting to me was she was talking about the construction schedule and how that really, she needed it. The whole process is so overwhelming for someone who, especially if you're coming to it for the first time. And her response that, I can chunk out what I'm thinking about if I know that that's a future deadline. I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, that would create a sense of comfort and not so much overwhelm with the process.
We created a little bit of angst because we did not get it to her as quickly as she wanted to. But, and that brings up a point, though, that every client has a little bit of a different priority. For some clients, they don't know or need to know what the schedule is because our superintendents every week update them on what happened the week before, what's coming up the week after, are we on schedule and things like that. But no, Kelly, she mentioned she's type A personality, which totally understand. We get along great. I have type A as well. And so when I really understood why she needed that schedule, it made sense because we can share different levels of our schedule too. We can give Kelly more of the Gantt view with everything, which is what we allowed her to see. And then some clients just want that very simple high-level milestone schedule. So, talk with your builder, and that's the beauty of a custom home. There's not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to the design, the designer, how you communicate with clients, what you share with the clients. It really is, and Kelly brought this up, it's really what she needed, what she and Matt needed for this build. And so that's what I think everybody should learn and talk to your builder about is what's right for you and your family during this project.
Right. And we have some clients who are not as comfortable with technology. And so for them, getting a text message with a video walkthrough or photos or something like that is much more helpful, whereas someone like very tech savvy is going to be comfortable going into co-construct and seeing those photos uploaded and know what they're looking at a little bit more.
And it really is amazing with the use of technology how much easier it's made the process for everyone. The fact that if a very important decision needs to be made, and if you need to share live time video, you jump on FaceTime or something similar, and you can show the client what the issue is or what the decision is, and you can make it right away. So, man, oh man, I know that technology has gotten invasive with the 24/7 responses and communication and things like that. But if you look at it from a productive standpoint, it really has made building, from afar much easier so we can communicate with our clients and get some pretty important decisions made.
So I guess my takeaway from this is when you're building something long distance that you want to check on your builder's tech savvy. Check out their website and the tools that they're using and kind of dig into, are they using a program like co-construct or, how have they managed it in the past? Because, somebody who maybe doesn't have the most slick website may not be quite as comfortable.
Right. But you know what? That might be okay for some people as well.
Right.
They might be okay with a phone call. The builder calls me periodically. Here's what I need from my builder. So those are great questions to ask, though. Make sure you understand how they're going to communicate with you and is it the appropriate way for you, because as we found, most people are tech savvy and they want the instantaneous communication and the various forms of communication, and having that project management software available to them 24/7 makes this so much easier.
And from the perspective of a client, if you're walking into the project, I'm not going to be thinking all of my creative thoughts during the day while I'm trying to work on my creative work for Hibbs Homes, right? Mm-hmm. So my thoughts are going to come in the evening, and that's not at the time to reach out to the building team because they're working during the day. And I'd be sitting watching Wheel of Fortune or something and getting, an idea of what I'd want to do. That'd be the time to go through a co-construct or something like that and leave a message so that you're not having it get lost in maybe their personal texts.
Right.
And number two, making sure that it's not just a text to that one person, the whole team. I know our designer, some of our trades will even see, whatever comments or thoughts you have if you use co-construct.
Or Builder Trend. There's a lot of different software programs out there. Just talk to your builder. This really is just to help everyone understand the industry and help everyone understand kind of what builders go through. Because, most custom builders have several projects going on, and they all have superintendents who are running those projects. And the one thing that I know from our perspective is work-life balance is extremely important for the Hibbs team, and we try to make sure that our team members aren't overwhelmed with messages after hours. So that's the beauty of having the co-construct or a Builder Trend or a Resio or all these other software programs that are out there. You can communicate with your builder off hours. It does not disturb them when they come in the next morning. It's there. The communication is recorded within the software, so it's always there. So everybody works hard. We want to build them a beautiful home.
Yeah.
Well, my takeaway is I was so thrilled to hear Kelly say that the project is actually turning out better than she expected. So I think the connection that we all made here with this long-distance relationship has really been a good one between the Hibbs team and Kelly and Matt and Lydia and her team. And we've developed a really nice, a very good relationship. We enjoy each other's company. We work very hard. And we're halfway through. We're just about to go to insulation and drywall. So we're halfway through the project. And next spring, Kelly and Matt will have their beautiful new home to move into. Lydia and the Hibbs team will be forever grateful to have worked with them and so thrilled to have been able to deliver their dream home and everything that they were hoping for and then some. So we made that connection.
Yeah, and I am going to put up some links on our show notes because you can follow along with the build too. Mm-hmm. It's just such a neat project, and actually the communication tools that Lydia is using with Kelly, they tell a great story about the house. I mean, she's got to tell the house story to the owner, and so we've been able to take some of that communication and put it on our website so that other folks can follow along with it. And so I'm going to link to the project page, and you can kind of get an idea of how they're sharing, their ideas from one coast to another.
And I understand you have a new way for our listeners to communicate with us. Communication, one of the key words we talked about during this episode, and it's one of our core values. So how do our listeners communicate with us?
Well, we have an email address. It is podcast@hibbshomes.com, and that we'll be manning that constantly. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times with the phone, things would get lost. And so we are...
That old technology you're talking about, kind of a landline phone too, aren't you?
I mean, yeah. I thought maybe some other folks would appreciate being able to email.
I think email makes it easier, and we are very sincere when we say that we welcome our listeners to ask questions or ask for advice or ask for guidance, because the purpose of the podcast, 6 seasons strong now, is to try to make the custom building process easier and more enjoyable for everyone. Whatever we can do to help you, make sure you do communicate with us at podcast@hibbshomes.com. Okay, we're getting toward the end of our season 6, which is a little bit sad. I know that a few episodes ago, we did a deep dive into insulation because we build high-performance homes. And the wall assemblies, the windows, insulation are extremely important. And so coming up on our next episode, we're going to kind of stay inside the house a little bit and start focusing back on some of the high performance features that goes into home building.
Yeah, we're going to talk about HVAC and air quality, which we've touched on in several episodes, but getting down to the nuts and bolts, if you will, of how it works.
We need to because, Melody, there are so many different options out there. And you don't want to leave it up to your builder. Not that the builder is going to do something wrong, but you want to be involved in the decision, and you want to be able to make some decisions on how do you want that house to perform for you, and what is the most important component of the HVAC system and indoor air quality and that type of thing. So this is where I will geek out a little bit because I love talking about the insulation and the HVAC packages and the wall assemblies and things like that. But we feel that, especially with our listeners who know we build high-performance homes, we want them to understand the importance of that HVAC system.
And we're actually in the process of planning season 7 too, talking about future episodes. So
we are?
Yeah. So if you want to email us with questions or something that you'd like to hear.
Topics. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. I'm all ears.
So they could use the new email address, the podcast@hibbshomes.com, and email us what topics you would like us to cover for season 7. Thanks, everyone. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. We really hope that you could feel the sincerity by Kelly Day, Lydia Huffman. It's been an awesome project. That's the way custom home building should be. We hope everyone is having the same experience or will have the same experience if you decide to build your custom dream home. And just know, we're always here to help you, and we hope you join us for the next episode of The Art of Custom.
For more information, visit www.artofcustompodcast.com or find us on Facebook and LinkedIn as The Art of Custom. Be sure to subscribe to get the latest episodes, and please rate and review. The Art of Custom is produced by Hug Monster Sound with original music by Adam Frickfordine. Thanks for listening.